Assalamu alaikum dear students. Hope you are doing fine. I'm Saima, your English teacher. Welcome to one more grammar class. We are learning tenses. In previous module, we talked about the two types of past tenses. That was past simple, past indefinite tense, or past continuous. Today we are going to continue with the structure, the pattern of past continuous tense. Let's understand the definition once more. In the previous module, we learned that past continuous tenses denote the time of an action that took place in past and was still going on, was in progressive form at that time. And some of the examples I gave was mother was cooking food, children were reading book, and past continuous tenses denote the time of an action that started at some point of time in the past and was still continuously going on when another action took place. For example, here I have written mother was baking a cake when we came back. So here we have two actions. The next action that happened was we came back, and before this, when we came back, one action was going on. It was in progression. That was mother was baking a cake. So this is the usage of past continuous. Let me show you the structure of past continuous. Here first we are going to learn about the structure of past continuous in positive sentences. So here it goes. If you have a positive sentence with this tense, past continuous, the structure must be like this: subject plus was or were plus V4, or which is also known as present participle, plus object. So dear students, here I'll explain the structure to you. Subject, as you know, is the doer of the action. Was and were are the past forms of is, am and are. If you are talking about present continuous tense, there we use is, am and are. If you are talking about past continuous, there we have to use was and were. Was with the singular subject, was with one person, one subject, and were with second person you, first person I were, you were, first person I were, second person you were, and plural subjects, for example, people or girls or children. These are all plural subject. With these plural subjects we use were. Remember this thing. You cannot say I was fine, how was you, it's how were you. So this was auxiliary used with singular subject and were with plural subjects, and first person I, second person you. And V4 means the ing form of the word. For example, write, wrote, written, writing. Play, played, played, playing. Eat, ate, eaten, eating. So the ing forms of the verb are denoted as V4 or present participles, because here we add ing to verb 1. We do not say eating, do we? No, we say eating. We do not say wroting. That's wrong. We say writing. So these present participles, they are formed by adding ing form to verb 1. So they are known as present participles, and they are always used in continuous tenses. If you have present continuous or past continuous, or if you have future continuous, with all the continuous tenses we use ing form of the verb and then followed by object. Object may or may not be there. The main structure goes from subject to verb 4. Let's write an example. I was playing a game. Okay, dear students, here your I is the subject, was is your auxiliary verb, a helping verb you can say, playing is your main verb, which is V4 or present participle, and game is your object here. So it goes like this. Now let's make negative of the same. negative tense, negative sentence with the form past continuous. Subject plus was or were plus the mark of negation not, as I have taught you in the previous classes that whenever you have any negative sentence we use not. Subject plus was, were plus not plus again be for present participle or ing form of the verb plus object. So let's make the same example. Let's take the same example. I was playing a game. Its negative will be like this. I, your subject, was not playing. I was not playing a game. Okay, dear students. Then we have interrogative sentence with past continuous tense. It goes like this. In past tenses we use did. Did plus subject. Sorry, we have the auxiliary here, was, were, we use the same. Was or were plus subject plus we for plus object and a question mark. So the example goes like this. Was I, subject or I, we for playing a game. Was I playing a game? So some more examples that we can make out of these structures are by using the same pattern. So past continuous, I repeat the usage of past continuous. Past continuous tenses denote the action, denote the time of an action that happened in the past and was not complete at that point of time. It was still going on, it was in a continuous form, it was in progressive form. And the structure for positive sentence with past continuous tense is subject plus was, were plus we for an object. Was is used with a singular person, were with plural subjects, and were with second person you, and were with first person when you are making a supposition. For example, if I were a millionaire, if I were a bird, I would fly. So I was playing a game, and the negative is by using not, subject plus was, were plus not, and again present participle and object. Then interrogative sentence with past continuous form is like you take the auxiliary verbs, helping verbs in the beginning, was or were, then subject, then followed by verb for, and then object. For example, was I playing game? Let me show you one more example with were. Were they looking odd? Okay, so here I have used were because the subject is plural. So the verb is also supposed to be in plural form. Plural verb, plural subject. So this is how your past continuous tenses go, and this is how the structure is formed. Let's move to the next form. Our next tense in past tenses is past perfect tense. So dear students, as I have told you earlier that perfect tense, perfect means where the work is finished, it's done, it's complete, okay, the work is done. So as I taught you in case of present tenses, present perfect tenses, the name indicates that action taking place in the present time and is completely done, finished. Nothing more of the work is left. So same is the case with past perfect tenses, just one difference that here you are talking about an action that happened in the past, but the effect of the action was still felt, it was still there. Let me take an example. she had finished her work. She had finished her work. So here, dear students, we are talking about an action that took place in the past and was completely done in that part of time. We are talking about the past and past of the past. We are mentioning a past action that happened in the past, and the effect of the action could still be felt in that past time. She had finished her work. They had completed the project. So this is the first use of past perfect tense, that it denotes the time of an action that had completed in past time. Or this past perfect tense, it denotes the time of an action where two actions took place in the past. You are talking about two actions happening in the past, okay, and you are mentioning the action that happened in the earliest part and the second action that happened in the you can say the later part, or the recent part, but in the past. Let me give you an example. The children had finished their work. The children had finished their work the children had finished their work when father arrived. So, dear students, look at the example carefully, you will get the idea what it is saying. Here, we are talking about the action that was done, that was complete in past, and the complete action in the past was that the children had finished their work, okay. This is one action that happened in the past. That it happened earlier, okay. The earlier action that happened in the past was that children had finished their work. The children had finished their work, and one more action that happened in the past at the same time was that father arrived, okay. So let me repeat, I said that past perfect tenses denote the time of two actions happening simultaneously in the past, and past perfect denotes the time that happened earlier in the past. Like here we have the action that had happened earlier was that children had finished their work, and then one more action happened when father arrived. So if you have situations like these, actually past perfect tenses are used to denote the action of such situations where you have two actions that happen taking place in the past time. So when you have such situation, what we do, the action that happened earlier, that is done, that is complete, that is indicated by this past perfect, and the action that happened later is shown by simple past. So here it goes like this. The first clause is indicated by, please remember it carefully, the first clause is indicated by past perfect, the earlier part of the action is indicated by past perfect tense, and the next action that happened, it is indicated by simple past tense. We do not say it like this, the children had finished their work when father had come. No. We do it like this, we say the first action in past perfect tense, and then the next action that happened, it is indicated by simple past, okay. So we have to remember these 2 points here. Now let's learn the structure of past perfect tenses. Here we'll frame some structures and then followed by the examples. We have the structure for positive sentence with past perfect tense. It goes like this: subject plus had plus, yes, it's V3, past participle, plus object. So dear students, one simple trick you have to remember, whenever we are using do, does and did, there we use verb 1, there we use present form. When we are using is, am, are, or we are using was, were, this simple trick will help you to remember which form of verb to use. So when you are talking about do, does and did, we use the first form of verb, present verb. When we are talking about is, am, are, was and were, there we use verb 4, okay, that is ing form of the verb, also called present participle. And when you are using this is, am, are, was, were, they are be forms. So whenever we use these, we use be for our present participle. If you have had or have or has, we use V3, that is past participle. So this is a simple trick which you can remember in order to easily understand which form of verb to be used. If you are using do, does and did, use V1. If you are taking is, am, are, was, were, take V4. And if you are talking about had, has, have, take V3. Simple. So let's get back to the structure of past perfect. So here we are. We are talking about past perfect tense, and we are talking about past perfect tense in positive sentence. We take subject and had plus verb 3 plus object. Let's frame an example. Sarah had. So I'm going to take the verb learn. The first form of learn is learn, learnt, learnt. You can also say learned. So Sarah had learned her lesson. So here the process of learning, the action of learning was done in the past. It was completely done. Here your Sarah is your subject, had is your auxiliary verb for the past, and learnt is your verb 3, and lesson is your object. So it goes like this. Let's take example of negative sentence. Negative sentence with past perfect tense. The same subject, same pattern, same structure we have. Just what you have to use is that, as I have mentioned earlier, use the mark of negation, not. It's simple. Subject plus had plus, yes, you are right, not. Subject plus had plus not plus. Since it's a perfect tense, we are using had. I just mentioned whenever you use have, has or had, we use verb 3. And again verb 3, then your object. So let's take the example already there. Sarah had. So this is a negative sentence. We'll use not. Sarah had not. Verb 3 of the learn, learned her lesson. Now let's take interrogative sentence. Okay, as we have learned in the previous tenses, that for making interrogative sentences we take auxiliaries in the beginning. So the auxiliary that we have here is had. So simply we're going to take had plus your subject, then your, yes, verb 3 again, that is known as past participle, and then your object and a question mark. Okay, dear students, so let's make an example. Had. Since we are talking about past tenses, we do not use has or have. Here with singular or plural subject, we use had with both. Had, and the subject is Sarah. Had Sarah. Your V3 is, yes, learnt, you are correct. Learnt her lesson and a question mark. So here we go with the past perfect tenses that denote the time of an action that happened at some point in the past and was completely done at that moment. And the structure goes like this: subject plus had plus third form of the verb plus object. For negative, it is subject plus had not plus verb 3 and object. For interrogative, we have had plus subject plus verb 3, then object, then question marks. So you can frame sentences, whatever kind of sentences you have. If you have negative, positive, interrogative, you can frame a sentence using these structures. For example, if I give you a word drink, okay, the third form of drink is drink, drank, drunk. Let's make examples. Sarah had drunk tea. Sarah had not drunk tea, and had Sarah drunk tea. So this past perfect tense and its structure, it goes like this. Let's move to the last one from past tenses. You got to revise these structures, these patterns, in order to simplify the usage of tenses. Okay, dear students, so let's move to the next past perfect continuous tense. Let's first of all analyze the name of the tense. Past indicating the action happening in the past time that happened before now. The effect is no more there, it happened in past. Perfect denoting the action happened before now. Perfect denoting the completion of action, okay, a complete action. And continuous, progression. So here the action denotes, the name denotes that action happened in the past. It happened at some point before in past. The half of the action was done, it was complete, and half of the action was still going on. It was not completely done. Only half was done and rest was still going on. Let's understand it with an example. We had been working since morning. So dear students, here we are talking about an action that had started in the past. Okay, you started working in the morning of, let's say, yesterday or last week, okay, and then till evening you were still working. Your work was not done. Only half of the work was done and half was still in progression. So we denote it like this: we had been working since morning. Or Umas had been reading a novel for a long time. So here the example, the action denotes that Umas, he started reading the novel some time ago. The time is not mentioned, okay? The time is not mentioned, you are just talking about the period of the time. So here we are using for. So Umas had started reading the novel at some time and he was still reading it. He was not done with that novel. It was not complete. So this is simple. We're gonna understand the structure of past perfect continuous tense. Let me again repeat it. The action talks about the past time, and the action half done, half still in progression, and still showing the continuity of the action. Let's understand it with structure. Positive structure first. structure for positive sentence in past perfect continuous tenses. The pattern for such sentences goes like this. First we take subject, then had, since it's a past tense, so we'll use had only with both singular and plural subjects. Subject plus had plus been, and then since it's a continuous tense, so then we have be for our present participle, ing form of the verb, plus object. Let's take an example. The baby had been sleeping. The baby felt asleep at some time in the past and he was still sleeping. So the baby had been sleeping. Let's take negative sentence. Same pattern we have, just use the mark of negation not. Subject plus had, not, then been, and be for plus object. Let's take the same example. The baby had not been sleeping. So here comes our negative sentence with past perfect continuous tense. Now we have interrogative sentence. As mentioned earlier, we take auxiliaries in the beginning of interrogative sentences. So we'll take had in the beginning. Had plus subject, been, and then be for, and then object. So the example goes like this. Had the baby, subject is baby, had the baby been sleeping, and a question mark. So here we have the three structures for positive, negative and interrogative sentences using past perfect continuous tense. Subject plus had plus been, and fourth form of the verb, the continuous form of the verb, and object. The baby had been sleeping. Negative, the baby had not been sleeping. Subject plus had plus not, been, be for, and object. Then we have interrogative sentence where we use the auxiliary had in the beginning, then followed by subject, followed by been plus verb for and object. Had the baby been sleeping. Now let's understand the rule of time with these perfect continuous tenses. In these tenses where we are mentioning the time of an action that had begun in some time in the past and was continuously going on, so in such situations we use since and for. For example, if I say the actors had been performing, the actors had been performing since Monday. So here I'm talking about an action that had started at some time in the past, since Monday of the past, and was still going on. The actors had been performing since Monday. I'm using this adverb of time since here because it's mentioning a particular time, a particular day, that's Monday. So when we are talking about point of time, we use since. And if I say the actors had been performing for 2 hours. So here I'm using this adverb of time for. It indicates period of time. The actors had been performing for 2 hours. You are just mentioning the period of time. You don't know which 2 hours. When did those 2 hours start? In the morning, in evening, when? We are just mentioning the period of time, that is 2 hours. So with past perfect continuous tenses or with perfect continuous tenses, we use the time adverb that is since and for. If you are mentioning the time, you use since, and if you are just talking about the period of time, we use for. So in today's module, we learned about the structure, we learned about the uses of past perfect continuous tenses and the structure. Hope you understood it well. Do practice and learn and keep sharing. Thank you.